What is your environment? Who are you surrounding yourself with? It doesn't have to be a training partner. It could just be the energy of your gym. What is the energy like around you? It doesn't even have to be from a training perspective. Who are you surrounding yourself with at work? Who are you choosing to spend time with? What information, doesn't even have to be people, what information are you taking in on a regular basis? What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Success Lift podcast. I am your host, Brian. Thank you so much for being back with us again this week. We are dropping this recording the day after the Super Bowl, February 12th, 2024. I hope you're having a great February. I hope you had a great weekend. I don't know if you're a big football fan. If you're paying attention to me, you probably do enjoy sports at least a little bit. And so you most likely watch the game. I'm recording this before the game actually gets played, so I don't know who wins. I don't know what's going to happen. Seems like it's going to be a pretty evenly matched game. I'm hoping for a good game. I talk about this in an email that I wrote yesterday that I just wrote right now, that I'm kind of torn. I kind of feel like my wife. My wife just wants everyone in youth sports to play well, have fun, and don't be too sad when you lose. And she didn't really play very competitive sports. And as I know, and maybe you know, that's not always possible. So right now there's a group of fans and a team that is very sad. And there's a group of fans and a team that is extremely, extremely happy. And I'm a bit torn because I have some personal connections to some people, or to a friend of mine who works with some 49er players. So I'm always rooting for people who I care about. And then I have a 9-year-old daughter, and she is a massive Taylor Swift fan, and we are big Swifties in my house. And so, of course, I want her to be happy to see Taylor Swift celebrate and to watch the Chiefs win. So I don't know what to do. I kind of feel like my wife, like I said. I just hope both teams play well and have fun. Okay. I want to talk this week. I'm going to jump right. I could go all into this like Taylor Swift thing and how much like people who watch football don't want to see the Chiefs win because they don't want to see Taylor Swift on TV. And that's so weird to me because I don't know why you hate excellence at a really, really high level done the right way, as far as I can tell, for a sustained period of time. Like, why do you not like that? And why do you think that, a pop singer coming into football is ruining your experience? Why do you care so much? Why don't you just focus on yourself and improve your own life instead of worrying so much about players who don't know you running around who are getting paid to play a game? You'll never interact with them. They'll never talk to you. And you're letting their performance dictate your state. That's a different conversation for another time. But I wanted to talk a little bit this week about something that I have been discussing I guess I talked about this in one of my emails recently. I absolutely used it as last week's conversation with my clients. Every Monday, my clients get a Monday morning message from me. Call it the Monday morning call. And I talked about your environment. I talked about how important your environment can be and how impactful or the impact that can have on you. And I thought a bit about this as the week went on, how crazy I've been impacted in my life by my environment, especially over the last 7 years. And to take you through just sort of like a really, really brief history of it, and then I want to use a specific example of something that happened to me over the last 2 weeks while I was working out. But I'll give you actually multiple examples, in terms of this quick and brief history, in terms of changing my environment and the benefits that I noticed and how important it is for you to consider your environment when making decisions and understanding the results that you have and how much they can be impacted by who it is you're spending your time with, the information that you're taking in, the words that you're speaking, the frequency around you, all of those things. And I think back recently to, when I began to change my life in 2015 inside of corporate America. For those of you who don't know, I was a 20-year Wall Street professional. About 15 of those years, I probably lived as unhealthy of a life as you could. I was your prototypical Wall Street pro. Nothing crazy, actually, but, I went out a couple nights a week at least, drank 4 or 5 nights a week, most of the time very casually, nothing crazy. Would always, have hit the one hitter on the way home, smoke a little bit of weed. I would use, painkillers, like Percocets and different things like that. I would use Xanax. I would use, different things to fall asleep sometimes, Ambien. I gambled a fair amount. It started early in my 20s as I'd go to the sports bar all Saturday and Sunday and watch games, and I would gamble on all the games. And then it turned into me being a busy husband and father and not even really watching the games, but still gambling on all the games on Saturday and Sunday. And so I was kind of your pretty prototypical guy. I worked really hard. I was successful. I was a good enough husband and father, but I wasn't a great one. I ended up changing my life inside of corporate America, in a seat that maybe you sit in every single day. So I like to say, especially in my executive programs where I come inside of a company and I work with a small group of executives inside of my program called High Performance Health, my one-on-one programs where I work with individuals just like yourself to help them change their lives. And then also my company wellness program that I've been running with several organizations over the last 6 to 8 months. I tell them I'm not special. If I can do it, you can do it. And here's how I did it. And so I am a living example, living, breathing example that you are not unique in the sense of all of your excuses, all of your reasons, all of your obstacles, all the stress you have, for the most part, is generic AF. And if someone like me can do it, anybody can do it, especially you. And I truly believe that. And that's what I help show people when I work with them, either in group settings or in a one-on-one setting. And so I transformed my life by doing some different things and changing some of the environment that I was spending outside of the office. And obviously resulted in some tremendous benefits to me, for me. But 2018 was really when I began to up-level myself by putting myself in different environments. And it started me down a path that quite frankly has me talking into this microphone and looking at that camera and to you right now. And it was a decision I made to join a mastermind. We called them then. I don't know if they're still called that now, but it was a group of men. I joined a men's mastermind led by a fitness professional, a podcast guy, this Jersey bro. His name is Jay Ferrugia. And Jay's now one of my very, very close friends. Funny how that works. You hire people to help you in their lives, your life with your life, and you end up becoming, lifelong friends. Jay's the one who convinced me to move across the country, or at least put the seeds of that as a possibility. My wife and I had talked about it. I moved from New Jersey to California, for anybody who's stumbling upon me for the first time or doesn't know much about my story. 4.5 years ago, we now live in the Los Angeles area. After being born and raised in New Jersey, working in Manhattan for 20 years and just never thinking I was going to ever leave the New York, New Jersey area, let alone the East Coast, and live across the country. And what I found when I joined this group is that I was a bit of a unicorn inside this group. There was really only one other person who was a businessman, traditional businessman, who worked inside of a corporation, who went to work in pants and a button-down shirt, maybe every single day. The rest were fitness professionals, and they were unbelievable human beings. Some of them are my best friends, in the world right now, 6 years later. But I felt a little out of place. But what I quickly realized was that, I was as much like those guys as the people that I worked with on a day-to-day basis. In some aspects, much more like those guys. And it opened up my eyes to hold myself to a different standard and to push myself in areas of my life that I normally had not. And I do what I do right now because of an initial conversation with Jay and that group as accountability for me. And it was in February of 2018. I remember the conference room of my office that I was in Midtown Manhattan at Seaport Global on 45th Street between 5th and Madison Avenue. I jumped off the desk for 30 minutes just to have a check-in call with Jay. And we were talking, we were just getting to know each other. It only been about a month since I've been in the program. And he asked me, I said, I'm doing really well financially. I have this great profession. I like it. I don't love it. It certainly pays the bills and provides a great living for me. But there's something missing, man. Like I made this great personal transformation 3 years ago, sort of saved my marriage from the brink of divorce. I transformed my body. I'm now in the best shape of my adult life. I mean, I'm now in better shape, but at the time, and I got myself out of joint pain. I got myself, off of addictions, gambling, drugs, alcohol, you name it. But like something's missing, man. I don't know. And I think it's my career, but I'm just not sure what I would do. I had all the stories of a 15-year professional in one career, right? I graduated college. I got a job on Wall Street. And yes, I moved around. I started as a financial advisor in Merrill Lynch's financial advisor training program. Then I moved to UBS and I started working as a trading assistant and I moved my way up. But predominantly speaking, I was in one general career for the entire 15 years. And how many of us in our late 30s, maybe into our 40s now, I'm 46, how many of us have asked ourselves the question, well, what else would I do? I don't know what else I could do. How could I support my family? Right? I had 2 young kids at that time. How could I support my family? Like, have you seen my credit card bills? I can't just pick up and, Jerry Maguire this thing and go figure this out. And so, he did ask me a question though. He asked me a question that fundamentally changed the way I thought about things. He said, if, let's just say you don't have to make money. I know you do, but let's just say you didn't have to. What would you do? And I didn't know how to answer that, but right away I said, well, I've really enjoyed this transformation that I made. I think I would help people, because a lot of people ask me, at work, they started making fun of me at first, but now they come up to me and they say, can you tell me a little bit more about the stuff that you're doing? Because you look fucking great, and my back hurts, and I'm always tired, and I just want to stop drinking so much. And he said, okay, what you should do is you should ask like 10 people if they'd work with you. And I'm like, yeah, man, that's a great idea, dude. Great idea. And of course I did nothing, because it's the start that stops most people. And I wasn't going to start something that was massively uncomfortable and seemed really, really hard to do. And so I didn't do anything. I said, great idea, Jay. I'll check that out. And on a call a week later, we were going around. This is a group call now, We were going around, 15 guys on a call, and he's just getting updates from everyone. And then he looks over to me and he says, Brian, what's up with the coaching? What's up with your side hustle? And I was like, I started to sweat instantly. I was like, I haven't done anything. I didn't think you were serious about that. And he didn't give me a pep talk. He didn't lay into me. He didn't do any of that. He just simply said, all right, I'll check back with you next week. And that was enough in that moment, having known him a little bit at that point, be like, fuck, man, this guy is not going to let me not do this. And not only that, I'm not showing up to this call again and stuttering my ass off and stumbling and fumbling and not having words to say. And so in that moment, because of the environment that I was in, I was held to a standard that I was unwilling to live up to on my own. And so I simply took action, because I did not want to show up to that call next week and not have something to say. And 6 years later, I work with 20 plus individuals, 26 individuals right now. I've worked with hundreds of individuals one-on-one. I'm working with several groups of executives. I've worked with 4 different companies, taking them through my company wellness program. I moved across the country. I've completely changed my life. I'm in the greatest shape. I've definitely been in better shape as a 21-year-old, but that's only because I was 21. I'm 46 right now. I'm in the best shape of my adult life. I'm not going to include college. My marriage is the best it's ever been, 17 years in, from the brink of divorce 8 years ago. Continuing to get better every day. That honeymoon phase that you think exists is bullshit. Bullshit. Your marriage should grow and be more connected every single year. Why wouldn't you be more connected and have a better relationship and have more intimacy in year 17 than in year 4? You know each other better. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I can't believe I bought into it, but I did. And so many other people do. And so just from that environment, for that accountability, not being willing to show up empty-handed again, in 2018, I have this life now that I wouldn't trade for the world. I mentioned in 2019, we moved across the country. I was still holding on to some things in my life in 2018, some past, behaviors that I wasn't always proud of. I was gradually making improvements every year. But I lived in an area that I grew up in. There was so much history there, and I couldn't escape some of it. Not necessarily what I was doing on a daily basis. I couldn't escape some of the shame and some of the regret that I felt when I was just driving around and just know that, I made a bad decision at that house 10 years ago. I did something stupid in that apartment 4 years ago. So moving across the country gave me the opportunity to change some of that for myself. And I was able to do that because I was in a new environment. Fast forward to the summer of last year, 2023. And I went to an event, which was part of a program that I'm still a part of called Superhuman. And it was a group meetup. And that's right, I didn't explain. I am part of a fitness program, fitness and nutrition program. I am a fitness and nutrition coach. I'm an executive health coach, but we focus a lot on fitness and nutrition. What's a fitness and nutrition coach expert doing in a program? Well, I need coaching too. I can get better. I can surround myself with like-minded individuals and level myself up. Why wouldn't I do that? I work with 3 coaches right now. I have for the last 5 years and will continue to. So we went to an event, and we were right in the middle of the phase of my program where I was about to be. I was going to begin putting on some lean muscle. I was 222 pounds. I have a history of strength training. I've been training for a very long time. I was 45 years old at the time. And we all sort of agreed, even these professionals, these experts, we all sort of agreed that it was going to be really hard for me to put on a lot of lean muscle because of my age and because of my training history. When I say training history, I mean I've been training for a long time. You remember those? They're called newbie gains that you get when you just start working out, maybe as a young person. We all, have seen like teenagers just put on massive amounts of weight and muscle in, a short period of time. Now their hormones are working for them. But I've seen it in my clients in their 30s, 40s, and 50s who haven't strength trained, haven't lifted weights for 15 years maybe. You come back and you get those newbie gains. You get some really, really quick gains right away. And then it sort of levels out because your body adapts and says, oh, I know what this was. So we all assumed that I wasn't going to get a lot of progress quickly, which I was okay with. Well, what happened was we met up as a group and we trained as a group. And anytime you ever train as a group and the energy is high and you are pushing yourselves, you realize you can take your training to another level. And that's what happened to me that day. I realized that my training wasn't exactly intense on a daily basis. I work out at 5 a.m., a lot of business people in there, and they're just getting in and getting out. And sometimes there's nothing wrong with that. But, it was more of an obligation for me as opposed to an intention, a real intention to get in there and get after it. And after that event, I was like, ooh, that's what getting after it feels like. My legs were sore for a week. Shout out to my man, Jose, kicking my ass in that workout. What I told myself was that, I wasn't training hard. And if I was going to actually do this thing, let's do it. LFG. And so I made a commitment to myself to push and to train hard and to go to failure and to not need other people to motivate myself. And so I busted my ass for the next 4 to 5 months. every day. Every day I was supposed to lift 5-6 days a week. I ate like an animal, the right foods, but I ate like an animal in a calorie surplus, which is what you need to do in order to gain weight. Then you need to strength train your balls off, or if you're a female, your figurative balls. You need to work hard to grow muscle. And fun fact, it didn't actually take that much time for me to make a lot of progress. I put on 15 to 20 pounds. I don't know if it's all muscle, but I went from 222-ish pounds to 247 pounds as of the early part of January, early part of January. I'm currently 237 pounds because we're now cutting a little bit. I'm going to get sliced and diced. And I'm keeping the muscle that I built. But I changed my environment for just a very short period of time and exposed myself to a higher level of intensity. And then I took that home with me. And I repeated it over and over and over and over again. But even then, I didn't know that I wasn't pushing myself as much as I could. So a week or so ago, I'm training at 5 a.m. and there are two sweetheart of guys, but they are big and scary mother effers. One of them has face tattoos. Couldn't be nicer guys though. I talk to them a lot. But I don't see them a lot. One's a trainer, so I do see him in the morning, and the other one's his buddy. I don't see them train though, because they usually don't work out until midday. Now, sometimes I go to the gym midday. Very, very infrequent. I would say twice a month. I go to the gym midday or anything other than 5 a.m. 5 a.m. is my time. It's a life hack. The downside to 5 a.m. is that sometimes you're tired. You don't always want to get after it. And it's harder to motivate yourself from my experience. These two guys were in the gym last week at 5 a.m. and they were training. They're training partners. And they just so happened to be doing a couple of things right near me. And they were getting the F after it. Grunting, groaning, pushing each other, going to failure, screaming, getting up from the bench, like grunting, breathing heavy, sweating. It was intense. It was intense being around them. I felt their energy. And I was doing my thing, just working out, wasn't thinking anything of it. And I use an app. I record my sets and my reps on an app. And the great part about, having the app right there, now you should be tracking your progress in the gym. This is another mistake I made for years. I never actually recorded what I did. I would get into the gym. I'd be like, I don't know, should I do the 65? Should I do the 70? Should I do the 75s or 80s? I don't really know. Would you ever walk into the office and not know what to do? You'd have a plan, right? So I'll never not have a plan anymore. Whether or not I use an app, I don't know. I'll have a notebook, right? I'll have a log book. I'll write it in a notes section of my phone. I don't know. I use Google Sheets for my clients. We build out an entire workout log in their sheets for my guys who want to count sets and reps. Or I'll use an app. I don't know, but I'll never not do it because I'll never not know that I lifted, the 85s for 8 on incline dumbbell bench press last week. How do you know if you're making progress if you don't know what you did previous weeks? And so that's the great part about the app. The app is, I plug my stuff in and it shows you what you did last week. And as I'm plugging some of this stuff in, and I'm doing I think where I was on one of the cable area. So I was doing like tricep push downs and then bicep curls, cable curls, like superset, one the other. And so, I'm pushing myself to pretty close to failure. And I'm just doing the same weight. All I did was I looked at last week's weight and I put this week's weight, put the pin into this week for this week's weight. And so let's call it 100 pounds. And I do 20 reps of 100 pounds, right? And I go put it in and I notice that last week I did 17 reps at 100 pounds. And then on the next exercise, I do 110 pounds and I do it 20 times, 22 times, 18 times, whatever it may be. Every single time it was 2, 3, even as many as 4 reps more than last week. And now here's the thing. We want progressive overload and we want to continually lift more weights. whether that be reps, whether that be sets, whether it be weight, or a combination of all of those, which I believe is referred to as total volume. Sets times reps times weight. What's your total volume? So you can measure your progress in a lot of different ways. And progress will happen over time if you push yourself to failure, close to failure, with perfect execution. But what's not supposed to happen is for you to get 25% stronger in a week. And some of these weren't 20 reps, they were more like 12 reps. So to do 2 to 4 more reps on a set that's only 12 reps or 14 reps or 15 reps or 10 reps in totality, you don't get 20% to 40% stronger in 1 week. So what happened? Well, quickly I realized that I wasn't trying very hard again. Or I just found another gear and pushed myself beyond the limit, the ceiling that I was currently at, because I don't think I've been dogging it. And what changed? I didn't take a pre-workout. I drank coffee just like I always do. I didn't get some magical night's sleep. I didn't cold plunge before. I didn't take all my supplements. I'm trying to think of as many bullshit things I can think of at once. My environment changed. Yes, it was the same gym. Yes, all the business people that are usually there were there. But these two badass mother effers were there too. And I just happened to be training next to them. And I wasn't even working out with them. I was just adjacent to them. But they were grunting and groaning and grinding and pushing themselves to the limit. And so guess what I did? I just tried harder because I didn't want to feel like a little bitch around them. And so when I entered my reps and my sets into my app, I was like, wow, that's some great progress. And so I would ask you this week to consider, what is your environment? Who are you surrounding yourself with? It doesn't always have to be in person, like me having those people at the gym. It doesn't have to be a training partner. It could just be the energy of your gym. What is the energy like around you? It doesn't even have to be from a training perspective. Who are you surrounding yourself with at work? Who are you choosing to spend time with? What information, doesn't even have to be people, what information are you taking in on a regular basis? Do you have the news on? Are you listening to random shit on the radio on your commute? Or do you filter everything that you possibly can as much as possible and listen to podcasts like this or an audiobook, something that you enjoy? Are you at the mercy of whoever wants to give you information? Do you wake up and you check your emails and your text messages right away? Those are other people's agenda. Do you cultivate what you take in? So your environment can be energy. Your environment can be physical people. Your environment can be information. It's very cliche, but you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That goes for all sorts of information that we take in. It doesn't just mean people. And so I will challenge you this week to change your environment, because it will, in fact, change your life. If you can level up areas of where you spend your time, both virtually and in person, and upgrade the community of people around you. I paid to join a group of 15 strangers and change my life. I joined a program that does the same thing that I do for people, and it's changed my life. I randomly was next to 2 guys that I don't know very well, and it once again allowed me to understand that I'm capable of more. And that's what I want you to understand this week. You are capable of more. Change your environment, change your life. Hope you guys have a great week. If this one hit home for you, could you share it with somebody? Could you subscribe to the YouTube channel? Could you make sure you're subscribed wherever you listen, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever. I appreciate you guys. I'll see you back here next week.